If you're watching the replay on Facebook or on YouTube, just comment replay and let me know that you actually saw this. And as we go tonight, if something clicks or you have a question, drop it in the comments. Even if you're watching later, I'll come back to you. Let's go ahead and jump right in here. Let's talk about protein, okay? And ladies, by the way, if we haven't met before, I'm Coach Jonathan. I'm the founder and head coach of the Fit Woman Formula. Inside our coaching program, one of the biggest levers that we pull for sustainable weight loss is protein, okay? And look, it's not because it's trendy. It's not because ChatGPT told you to eat 150 grams tomorrow. But it's because when it's done right, it really changes everything, okay? A quick reminder before we dive in, if what you hear tonight is helpful, and you're ready to unlock the energy and confidence of your 20s while dropping 2+ sizes in the next 12 weeks without restrictive diets, living in the gym, or useless supplements, you can click the link in the comments if you're on Facebook. You can tap the link in my bio if you're watching from Instagram, or you can check the description below if you're watching the replay here on YouTube, and you can learn more about working with us, okay? So let's break this down here. Why does protein matter? Well, I'm going to tell you it matters a lot more than you think, okay? Protein is not just about building muscle. It directly impacts fat loss, okay, in a big, big way. First, it helps you to stay full longer. That's one of the biggest ones, okay? It is the most satiating macronutrient. So if you're not familiar, macronutrients, protein, fat, carbs. Protein is the most satiating or the most filling, okay? Second, it does a great job of helping to control cravings, especially for sugar. And third, this is the one that most women overlook here, it helps protect your lean muscle while you're losing body fat, okay? So if you're losing weight without enough protein, you don't just lose fat, you lose muscle. And the more muscle you lose, the harder it becomes to maintain your weight long term. That's why protein isn't optional. It's foundational, okay? And I'll tell you, that also has a really big impact on how you look. You know, we have so many ladies that reach out to us and they say, maybe I'm close to hitting my weight loss goal, or I reach my weight loss goal, but I still don't really like how I look. You know, I feel like things are kind of saggy. You know, I'm not toned up at all. A lot of the times that's because there was just a quick, or maybe not quick, but a crash diet, okay, with very little protein involved. Now, let's talk numbers here, okay? And I'm going to share something with you. This might sound kind of crazy, but an optimized target, like in terms of how much protein you should actually be eating, is about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So for instance, if you weigh 160 pounds, that's about 128 grams per day. And I already know what some of you are thinking, okay? That sounds impossible. You've probably tried hitting a goal like this before, and it felt impossible, which brings us to the real problem. Why most women can't hit their protein goal, okay? Now, the truth is that most ladies aren't intentionally ignoring protein. They just aren't really paying attention to it, okay? They're not tracking it, so they don't really know how much they're eating. And then one day, they decide to eat high protein, all right? And a lot of the times what happens is it's like you jump from eating like 40 or 50 grams a day, and you're trying to hit like 130 grams overnight. And it feels totally overwhelming, okay? So what happens? Well, they quit, right? The problem here, ladies, is not discipline. It's jumping too far too fast, okay? If you're with me on this, I want you to just drop a little wave in the comments or give me a thumbs up. Is this something that you've ever struggled with before? Do you struggle with protein? Do you feel like there's been a moment where you tried to reach for a higher protein goal and it just felt overwhelming? Okay? This is why we need to use progression with this. So here's exactly how we implement this inside of our coaching program, the Fit Woman Formula. This is called the Protein Progression Protocol. This is a freebie. I'm going to tell you this is invaluable, so listen closely. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. I can promise you that. You are not going to hear this anywhere else, okay? So there are 3 steps to this. Step number 1 is protein with each meal. Doesn't need to be a certain amount, okay? Protein with each meal. You're going to do this for 2 weeks, all right? You're just building awareness around the habit. That is it. Then comes step 2, okay? You're going to look at your average intake over the previous 2 weeks, and you're going to add 30 grams, okay? This becomes what we call your initial protein goal, okay? This isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Consistent. And we need you to do that for 4 weeks, okay? Now, the last step here, we want you to take that initial protein goal and we want you to add 20 more grams. That becomes your optimized protein goal, okay? And remember, progression beats perfection. But here's the key. I need you to listen closely to this. This only works if you are tracking your food. I'm going to repeat that. Ladies, this only works if you are tracking your food. Think about it. You can't improve what you refuse to measure. Okay? And tracking isn't about obsession. It's about clarity. I'll tell you that I avoided tracking my food for years because I thought it was too obsessive, right? I thought it was too tedious. I thought it was too time consuming. Big mistake. Big mistake. Number 1, it takes about, to log all your food for the day, it probably takes a total of 2 minutes. If that. 2 minutes, okay? And if it takes you any longer, you're overthinking it. Doesn't take any time at all. Now, not only that, I realized that tracking my food, it wasn't obsessive, okay? It wasn't restrictive. What I was finally getting is I was finally getting numbers and data that I needed. I needed to get some feedback about all of this, okay? So that I could actually start making progress. And it wasn't restrictive at all. In fact, what I was doing was a lot more restrictive. You know, I was one of these guys that was eating, chicken breasts and broccoli and basically eating the same crap every single day out of Tupperwares, okay? That's the type of stuff I was doing, cutting out all the carbs, cutting out all the sugar. That was way more restrictive than tracking my food. And in fact, I'm going to argue, because this is what we do in our program and the reason why we have ladies track, you start to see that you can have treats, you can have carbs, you can have sugar. You can go out on a date night. You can eat cake for your birthday or your kid's birthday. You can go on vacation and enjoy good food. And you can feel good about it and not feel like you're getting off track, because what you see is you see some numbers around this. Has a lot to do with facts versus feelings. You might be feeling like, oh God, I did such a bad job tonight. I had that dessert with dinner and that's the reason why I can't lose this weight. But what you're going to see is that you are able to fit this into some guidelines like a calorie goal or like a protein goal. You're able to actually make it work. And this equates to what we call freedom with your food. It's very, very important because, and before I move on here, I'll just say this. A lot of ladies think that they know exactly what's holding them back from losing weight, and you really don't. And the thing that you need to be looking at is your relationship with food. That's normally what is at the root of all of this. You have a very poor relationship with food, okay? And I know it sounds very counterintuitive, but tracking your food can actually help you fix it, because you start to see, oh wow, there are no bad foods or good foods. There's just food. And when I fit it within these numbers, I get the results and I feel better about my food. That's it right there, okay? Now, I'm going to share a really, really simple tip with you, okay? This is a pro tip that you can start using immediately to figure out how if a food is actually high protein, okay? A quick tip to figure out if a food is actually high protein. So all you're going to do, you're going to look at the nutrition label. You're going to take the grams of protein and you're going to add a 0 to the end of it, okay? Then you're going to compare that number to the number of calories, okay? If the new number, okay, that you get with the protein is higher than the calories, it's likely a strong protein option. For example, okay, a protein shake, let's say it's 170 calories and 30 grams of protein. You're going to add a 0 to the 30. That's going to give you 300, okay? 300 is more than 170. That's a solid protein choice, okay? So that's a really easy way to figure out if something is a good protein option. Now, imagine that something has 10 grams of protein and is 300 calories. Now you're going to add a 0 to 10. That gives you 100. 100 is not more than 300, right? That's not a good high protein food. That's not a good option, okay? So this is how you stop getting fooled by marketing. You know, there's protein in everything these days now, which is good on one hand, but not so great on the other hand, because they're not always actually good options. They're not always actually high protein. They just have protein, okay? So again, this is how you stop getting fooled by marketing. Protein is about numbers. It's about ratios, not labels that say healthy or just say protein on them, okay? Now, we also need to make all of this practical. If you want a very easy way to bump your protein up, here are a few things that you can do. Number one, you can front load or anchor your day with about 30 to 40 grams of protein at breakfast. That gives you a great head start, okay? You can take what you're having at dinner, and let's say you're having some chicken. Well, you don't need to measure or weigh anything or anything like that. Literally just double the amount of protein on your plate. Double your portion. That's it, okay? A really simple one, use shakes strategically when needed. I have a lot of ladies asking me if it's okay to use shakes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, you might be thinking, but Jonathan, I should be eating, real food. For sure. Down the line, when you have a better understanding of how to get more protein in, okay? Shakes are a very easy tool to help you boost your overall amount of protein, okay? So use them. Down the line, if you want to replace it with whole food, you can. Don't be thinking about that right now. Especially if you are overweight, or let's say you're classified as obese or borderline obese, or maybe morbidly obese. Truthfully, ladies, you shouldn't be freaking out about using something like a protein shake. That's not your problem, okay? It's the thing around your midsection, right? So we need to do whatever we can, including using things like protein shakes, to make sure that you lose this weight. And a big part of this, of course, is keeping your protein up. Now, another thing you can do is keep high protein foods convenient, okay? Keep them around. Jerky, okay? Again, everything has protein in it these days. Protein chips, protein snacks, protein bars, all right? Protein isn't complicated. It's just not prioritized. And when protein is dialed in, hunger drops. Cravings calm down. Muscle retention improves, meaning you tone up. Fat loss becomes easier, and it's not because of magic, okay? It's because of biology. Your body is asking for more protein. We need to make sure that you get it consistently. So these tools I've just shared with you, use them, okay? And here's what I want you to understand. Protein alone isn't going to fix everything, okay? But if your protein is low, your results are always going to be harder than they need to be, okay? Making progress is always going to be harder than it needs to be. Dialing in protein changes hunger. It changes cravings. It protects your muscle. It improves your workouts, right? It makes fat loss sustainable instead of exhausting. Now, imagine combining that with the right calorie targets, okay? A smart training plan, proper recovery, coaching that adjusts when your body adapts. That's how women stop starting over, okay? That's how they break through plateaus. And that's how they actually keep the weight off for the rest of their life. So if what you've heard here tonight has been helpful and you're ready to unlock the energy and confidence of your 20s while dropping 2+ sizes in the next 12 weeks without restrictive diets, without living in the gym, without any useless supplements, okay? You can click the link in the comments if you're on Facebook. If you're on Instagram, go tap the link in my bio. And if you're watching on YouTube, check the description down below. You're going to be able to learn more about how we coach inside the Fit Woman Formula. You're going to hear and see real testimonials from women just like you. And if you like what you hear, you can apply to work with us, okay? And if you want real results this year, not just more information, all right, that's your next step, okay? So ladies, I hope this was helpful. Use these tools. And again, if you have any questions, drop them below in the replay. I'm happy to answer them. Hope you all have a great evening. I'll talk soon.